A lot of people are talking about moving to Denver these days. We got the beautiful mountains, nearly 300 days of sunshine, craft beer culture, and an incredible outdoor lifestyle that, everybody is chasing. While all that is true, there are some serious, even harsh realities that catch some newcomers completely off guard. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to cover 9 things that you absolutely need to know before you move to Denver and make it your hometown. Some of these could make or break your Denver experience, and most people find out about them the hard way. But I'm going to walk you through each one of them to decide if you are ready to handle what Denver throws at you. Hi, I'm Gary Bradler. I'm a local realtor here in Denver. And if you are new here, I make videos about life in Denver to give you all the information you need. So whether you are currently living here or you are moving to the area, feel free to check out the channel and some of our other videos. With that, let's start with number 1. The high cost of living. One of the biggest reality checks for anybody considering Denver, the cost of living. And the cost of living here is no joke. It's been climbing faster than most people can actually keep up with. Denver's cost of living is about 9 to 10% above the national average. Housing costs are really driving this whole thing. Now, of course, if you're coming from places like San Francisco or New York, you might think that Denver actually sounds like a bargain. But here's the thing. For locals and people moving from most other parts of the country, that sticker shock is real. The median home sale price here hit around $592,000, but depending on the area, you're gonna reach much higher than that actually. We're talking about a city that just a decade ago was considered pretty affordable compared to the coast. What's good though is that home values have been still going up year over year, making ownership here in Denver is still a solid long-term investment. If you think the price tag here is steep though, wait till we talk about traffic. Now, here's what most people don't factor in. It's really not just the purchase price that'll get you. Property taxes, utilities, all the regular general living expenses, just all add up. Groceries cost more, dining out is pricier, even basic services that come with that Colorado premium. The thing that catches people off guard is how quickly those costs can actually pile up when you're trying to enjoy that mountain lifestyle that everyone is moving here for. Number 2, traffic and congestion. Now let's talk about something that'll test your patience literally on a daily basis. That's Denver's traffic situation. And it has gotten seriously challenging. And it's only getting worse as more people discover this wonderful place. Now, 2 major highways, I-25 and I-70, are pretty brutal during rush hour. We're talking about speeds dropping between 35 miles an hour between downtown and the northern suburbs. So what should be a 20-minute commute can easily turn into 45 minutes to over an hour during peak times. But here's where it gets frustrating for people who moved here for the outdoor lifestyle. Those weekend trips to the mountains, forget about spontaneous ski runs. I-70 during ski season routinely sees delays of an hour to an hour and a half over the Eisenhower Tunnel on peak weekends. Traffic can actually pack up from late morning through early evening on weekends during that ski season. So, which reminds me, stay tuned for the weather and tourism. Those are big topics around here, and we'll get to those later. Now, there is some good news coming. Major construction projects are actually underway, including the E470 road widening program. It does have some new interchanges and added lanes. This one has phases scheduled to be completed through 2025. And some improvements on I-70 Floyd Hill, which are actually on track to be finished by around 2029. Right now, they're actually making traffic worse, of course, while the work's being done. So if you're moving here in the next year or two, just know you're going to be dealing with construction zones on top of that regular congestion. And we'll cover more about driving around here later. What's great about Denver's road network though is that once you understand the patterns and alternate routes, it actually becomes a little bit more manageable. The city has pretty well maintained roads and plenty of parking compared to other major metro areas. But really, make no mistake, you're going to spend some time in traffic, especially if you're trying to balance work downtown with that mountain lifestyle. And before we talk about those mountains, if you're getting any value from this video and you are in the process of buying or selling here in the Denver area, I'd love to help you navigate that process. Just reach out to me. All my contact info is below. Number 3, altitude adjustment. So here we are at over 5,000 feet above sea level. Now, let me tell you that Mile High elevation is not just a fun nickname. Your body is definitely going to notice it, especially in those first few weeks that you move here. Most newcomers experience a little bit of altitude adjustment. We're talking symptoms like mild fatigue, headaches, dehydration, and yes, even some shortness of breath when you first arrive. And your workout routine that felt pretty easy at sea level, that's gonna feel a little bit more difficult up here. What's interesting is how it affects different aspects of your life. So your alcohol tolerance drops big time. So that glass of wine or beer that barely affected you can actually hit you much harder at altitude, so be careful. Sleep patterns actually get disrupted for some people. Your skin also is gonna feel drier than you've probably experienced before. But here's the thing, most people adapt probably within 1 to 3 days with some simple adjustments. So a couple tips, just drink way more water than you think you need. We're talking a lot more. Start your physical activities gradually. Don't jump into that 5-mile mountain hike on your first weekend here because you'd regret it. The key to understanding is that it's temporary. Once you're used to the altitude, you'll actually develop better cardiovascular fitness than you had at sea level. One thing that also catches people off guard is how the altitude might affect cooking and baking. So as you probably remember from school, fun fact, water boils at a lower temperature here in Denver at about 202 degrees instead of that standard 212. So baked goods also rise differently. Even your morning coffee might taste a little bit different. It's pretty unusual, but all manageable once you know really what to expect. And keep water in mind because I'll circle back to this one. But let's talk about something else first. Number 4, unpredictable Denver weather. Now, this is where things get interesting. You've probably heard someone maybe joke around that if you don't like the weather, just wait 10 minutes. This is not funny Colorado humor. That's actually pretty much how it is. Denver's got a climate that is categorized semi-arid, and those dramatic temperature swings can really catch you off guard because we see annual temperature ranges from as low as, negative 30 degrees Fahrenheit all the way up to 105 degrees in the summer. But what gets people is the rapid day-to-day changes. So here's what I mean when I say unpredictable. You can have a spring blizzard dump 8 inches of snow in the morning, and then by afternoon, you're looking at 50 to 60 degree temperatures and clear skies. Summer days can start at 90 degrees, then a thunderstorm rolls in, and suddenly you need a jacket. What is great about Denver weather though is we get about 300 days of sunshine or maybe just slightly partly cloudy. And even when we get snow, winter snowstorms usually just last about 24 to 48 hours before clearing out. So compare that to places like Chicago or the East Coast, where you might not even see the sun for weeks during the winter, but you do need to be prepared for these rapid changes in weather. That of course means layering your clothing and keeping an emergency kit in your car during the winter months, and always having a backup plan for outdoor activities. And that backup plan is needed for our next issue too. So the people who struggle most with Denver weather are those who don't adapt their expectations and planning to account for these swings. Number 5. Limited water resources. Let's go ahead and talk about something that's becoming more and more important for anyone considering a move here to Colorado. Water scarcity has started to become a real concern. You need to factor this into your decision. Colorado's water supply depends heavily on our snowpack, which in the spring of 2025 peaked at just 57% of its 30-year median. It was actually one of the driest starts in recent history. This fed into mountain reservoirs that remained below average early in the season, prompting our Denver Water District to actually implement its annual summer watering rules. Now, what this means for you as a homeowner is that current regulations limit outdoor irrigation to just 3 days per week, with no watering permitted during a fixed schedule. So if you're dreaming of that perfect green lawn, you're going to need to adjust those expectations or be prepared to work within those water restrictions. What's interesting is that the long-term picture, as the population continues to grow and of course climate patterns shift, water restrictions could become more common. So this affects everything from your landscaping choices to potential future water bills. But here's some good news. Denver also maintains some of the highest drinking water quality standards in the country. The infrastructure is well maintained and the water that comes out of your tap is excellent. A lot of people don't even have to use bottled water. It's more about managing usage and understanding that water is a precious resource, not something you take for granted. That's not true for our air quality though, and I'm going to speak about that in a second. One more thing that's important to consider is your landscaping approach. Traditional grass lawns require a lot of water. However, Colorado native plants and xeriscaping can create beautiful outdoor spaces and use much less water. So it's all about maybe adapting your expectations to work within the environment rather than against it. Number 6, worsening air quality. Let's take a look at another factor that catches a lot of people off guard, especially coming from areas with really clean air. Denver's air quality has some challenges that you need to be aware of. The city experiences periodic air quality problems from both local urban population and regional wildfires. Now, what makes this particularly noticeable in Denver is something we call temperature inversion. And this is what locals call, the brown cloud phenomenon. It's when a layer of warm air traps that colder, polluted air near the surface. And what this does is it reduces ventilation and visibility. And these inversions, of course, are most common during those winter months, but of course they can happen throughout the year. What's challenging is also that wildfire impact during those summer months. Even when the fires are happening in states far away like California or Oregon, that smoke travels here. It can reduce air quality for literally weeks at a time. Now, it's not like LA at all, where you have constant smog. Most days, about 62% of the year, Denver's air quality falls in the good category. We have around 32% of days in that moderate category and only around 7% hitting in that unhealthy for sensitive groups category. So that brown cloud usually burns off fairly quickly once the weather patterns shift. But just like you need to be prepared for those periods where outdoor activities might need to be adjusted, especially if you have any of those respiratory sensitivities. The good news is that there are resources to track air quality in real time. There's tons of really cool apps and websites like AirNow that provide these readings so you can plan your outdoor activities accordingly. Number 7, tourist crowds and transplants. Here's something that affects the day-to-day experience of living in Denver, and that's that combination of tourist crowds and the new influx of residents moving and changing the character of the city. It's creating some challenges. Denver's proximity to all of our world-class ski resorts just within a 2-hour drive creates that serious congestion. Resort cities like Vail can actually see visitor counts exceed 25,000 on peak days, which strains that local infrastructure and creates huge traffic delays that we talked about earlier on I-70. And it's not just the ski traffic. Places like Rocky Mountain National Park welcomed over 4 million visitors last year, and attractions like Red Rocks, they draw heavy crowds year-round. So what used to be peaceful mountain getaways now require a lot more advanced planning and patience with parking or trail congestion. Speaking of parking, I'll cover that too, but the transplant situation is real too. The Denver metro area added about 82,000 residents from 2020 to 2024. Now, growth is great, but some longtime locals often express frustration with how this is changing their neighborhood character and, of course, driving the prices up. You're going to hear about all the native bumper stickers and some tension between, established residents and newcomers. But what this means practically, popular restaurants have wait times doubling from 4 to 8 weeks after receiving Michelin or other accolades. And if you're into hiking, those hiking trails are more crowded. You need to book outdoor activities and accommodations well in advance. So that spontaneous mountain weekend or last minute dinner reservation is becoming a little bit harder to pull off. If you're still curious about this, I'll go back to entertainment in a minute, so stay with me. What's important to understand is that if you're moving here, you're contributing to this dynamic. So be respectful of local customs, understand the history of the places you're exploring, and just be patient with the growing pains. Number 8, car-centric. So this is something that actually surprises a lot of people, especially if you're coming from cities with really good public transportation. Denver is a really sprawled out, car-dependent metro area. You're gonna need reliable transportation to really make the most of living here. The metro area has a low density footprint that makes owning a car actually pretty essential. While downtown areas like Cap Hill and Lodo are very walkable, they score really high for walkability, like in the mid-90s for that walkable score. Other areas typically score a lot lower, between 60 and 70. It means most errands are gonna require a car. And as we said earlier, that can be a challenge. Denver's public transit system, which is called RTD, does serve the metro area with bus service and light rail options. But here's the reality. Transit mode share has plateaued about 4% of all trips, and only about 30% of households live within a quarter mile of frequent transit routes. So if you're planning to live here car-free, you need to be super strategic about where you choose to live. What's interesting though is once you have a car, the city becomes so much more accessible. Even with all the traffic, roads are pretty well maintained. Parking is generally available and affordable compared to a lot of those other major metro areas. The highway network connects you efficiently to all the different parts of the metro area and the mountain destinations. The point here is just understanding that your housing location kind of determines your transportation needs. So if you choose to live downtown or some of those close-in neighborhoods, you can walk or bike to many of those destinations. But if you're looking at more suburban areas for a lot more space, you got to factor that in, and you'll be driving for most activities. And we'll be speaking about those next. One thing that's nice about Denver's car culture is the infrastructure for road trips and outdoor adventures. So having a car opens up really incredible weekend possibilities. Before we talk about the next issue, make sure you drop a comment telling me if you have any challenges living here or if you're still wondering about something specific. I'll do my best to help you out. Number 9, it is definitely not the nightlife capital. All right, let's talk about Denver's entertainment scene, or maybe lack of it, because this is where expectations and reality sometimes don't match up. While we do have a pretty solid food and drink culture, it's definitely not competing with some of those other major areas. Now, we do have a rich craft beer culture, about 160 breweries here in the Denver metro area. We also have an expanding restaurant scene. We have made big strides in the recent years, and there are some excellent dining options, especially in neighborhoods like Rhino, Lodo, and Cap Hill. But if you're coming from places like New York, LA, Chicago, you're probably going to notice the difference in the late night variety and high-end offerings. All the nightclubs do close by 2 a.m. even on the weekends, and most restaurants quit service usually by midnight. So if you're used to a city that truly never sleeps, Denver definitely has more of an early to bed, early to rise, mountain town kind of vibe, even in those urban areas. What's important to understand is that Denver's entertainment culture reflects the lifestyle priorities here. So people tend to prioritize outdoor activities, craft breweries, and casual dining over the really high-end club scenes and that late night fine dining. The social scene often revolves around hiking groups, ski clubs, and outdoor recreation rather than just that traditional urban nightlife. Now, that doesn't mean the scene here is completely lacking. There are really good quality restaurants, good live music venues, and some great, interesting cultural events. It's more about just adjusting your expectations to meet the local culture rather than expecting that big city nightlife scene. At the end of the day, every city has trade-offs, and for many people, these trade-offs are worth it for the lifestyle benefits that Denver has. We're talking about a city with 300 plus days of sunshine. We got incredible outdoor recreation access, a really good, strong job market, and that unique Colorado culture that draws people from around the world. I guess this is whether up to you if those challenges are worth the trade-offs. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and you're looking to buy or sell a home here in Denver, don't hesitate to reach out. All my info is on the screen and down below in the video. And make sure you click right here to watch last week's video where I covered the best places to live in Denver this year.